So now we would start writing our code, and first we would import Maya.openMaya as openMaya. I would select that and execute it. And secondly, we are going to import one more module, which is import Maya.openMaya Mpx. MP is capital or uppercase. Mpx here stands for Maya Proxy. OpenMaya Mpx are the API classes designed for the cases in which user designs their own object, such as command, node, or any other type of plugin. So in this case, we are designing a command plugin. That's why we would need OpenMaya Maya Proxy API. Alright, the third module which we would need is system, because we would be outputting errors. For that we would need system. After that we would define a variable and we would call it as command name, and I would give it a name plugin command. And then, as we mentioned, that we are going to write this command plugin in form of a class, so we would define a class, we would give the name of a class, now we want this command plugin to work as an internal command. So that means we want Maya to think that it's an internal command, and to make Maya think like that, we would have to inherit one class of OpenMaya Mpx module, which is Mpx Command, Mpx command. So what is Mpx command? It's a class used to create mail commands. Mpx command provides all the functionality necessary to make Maya think that it's an internal command. It would function like a built-in command. So when we derive any class from Maya or Mpx command, the derived class should always have a doit function, because it's going to do something, so it would have to have a doit function. So in this case, this is the derived class, this is the base class. So our plugin command is a derived class, so derived class should have a doit function. And then we would write a constructor, def init, and we would pass self. With that, when we would initialize this class, we also want to initialize Mpx command class. So we would call the constructor of OpenMaya Mpx dot Mpx command dot init, and we would pass self in it. So we have defined the constructor, and as we mentioned that this derived class should have to have doit function, and we will pass self definitely. So now our plugin command might have the arguments as well. For example, when we create a polyplane, we can give the argument like what width do we want, what subdivision do we want. So for the subdivision we would call it SD. So these are the argument, and we would take them as a list. So we would pass one more argument to doit function, which would be argument list. Now we can write anything what we want our plugin command to do. In this case, just to simplify, because here we are understanding the structure of a plugin command, I would just print do it. Alright, so I have defined the do it function. So at this point our class definition is done. We have defined what is the function of this plugin command. So we have already achieved first goal, which is defining the function. Second is to initialize, and then third is to uninitialize. So for the process of initialization, we also understood that we would create an instance of this class, and then we would attach a pointer. So when we are creating a command, there are some compulsory things for initializing a plugin, and we have already taken a quick look of the process, and after writing the code we would understand it again. So first we would write a function command creator. We would have to define this function. Now, as we mentioned that we would attach a pointer to instance of a class. So as there are no pointers within Python, we would have to use a class of Maya API to define a pointer. So this command creator function would return a pointer. So to define a pointer, we would use open Maya mpx dot as mpx ptr as Maya Proxy pointer, and this pointer is going to attach to an instance of this class. So to create an instance of the class, we would call plugin command. Here we go. So our command creator function is done. Now we would define initialization plugin function. So define initialize plugin function. So as we know that as we just discussed that whenever we initialize or whenever we register a plugin, Maya prepares a handle to grab that pointer. So we would have to send that prepared handle to this function. So initialize plugin, and that handle would be in the form of mObject. Now we would define dot mfn plugin, a function set to work on plugin, and we would pass that same mObject, that handle which is prepared by Maya. Alright, now we are going to execute a try and accept condition. We are going to use a try except condition. Try register this plugin, and to register this plugin we are going to use a command register command. Alright, then we would need two different things for registering a command. First, we would need the name of this plugin command, and then we would need the pointer. So how we are going to get that pointer? Because mObject is going to grab that pointer, so now we would have to define where is that pointer. So we know that this command creator function is returning that pointer, so we would take that function and put it there. So now we would write except if it for some reason if it can't register that plugin, what we want to see the error, and the way we would see the error is sys.stderr write failed to register command name. Alright, so our initialization or initialize plugin function is done. So now we know what our plugin is going to do, we know how to initialize it. The third requirement is uninitialize. The same way we would need that M object. We would create a M plugin, which would be the function set. Open Maya mpx.mfn plugin. We would pass that M object. Try deregistering it. How we can try deregistering it is M plugin dot deregister command. What we would need, the name of the command, and we don't need the pointer because there is something which is already inside the Maya core and that can be easily removed. The reason why we need the pointer is because previously it was outside somewhere and Maya had to grab it and pull it inside the Maya core, so that's why we needed pointer. But for unregistering or uninitializing or deregistering, we don't need that pointer. Try it, except give me the error stderr dot write failed to deregister command. Here we go. So in this code we have defined the function that what our plugin command is going to do. It's going to print to do. Then we define how to initialize the plugin. Then we define how to uninitialize plugin. There's one thing about the plugins that you can't execute them in the script editor and load the plugin. You would have to save them as a script file. So I'm going to save it in C drive and plugins folder. I would call it as plugin dot py. Alright, so I have saved this script. I would just quickly verify it. Alright, so this code is saved. Now we would have to load this as plugin. There can be three different ways of loading a plugin. Either you can use Python command, second you can use mel command to load a plugin, or third is using the Maya UI, which is the plugin load function. So first I would show you how to load it through UI. So we would go to setting and preferences. We would first go to window, setting and preferences, and plugin manager, and then we are going to browse it. We would want to go to C drive, plugin, and plugin command. So our plugin command.py is loaded. Did we see any error? No. So let's try executing the command which we just created. So first we would import maya.cmds as cmds. Second is cmds dot the name of the command we provided, plugin command. There is no argument or no parameter, so we would just execute this, and here you go, you can see the printed do it ... So that's how we write the plugin and load the plugin through UI. Now we would see how to load it through Python or Mel. So there is a command called as cmds.load plugin, and now we would define the file path of it, C drive / plugin .py. Let's execute that. So in this case it's already loaded, that's why it has given us the warning that plugin command.py is already loaded. But if it is not loaded, this would load as plugin command, and then you can simply use plugin command and execute that. So that's how we write the command plugins, and now we would just quickly revise what is the complete process, what each command is doing in it. So the first thing we did is we defined the plugin as a class. So this is our class, and we mentioned that there would whichever class is derived from mpx command would have to have a doit function. Alright, the second thing which we mentioned, we have to create the instance of this class. So what we did is we created an instance. So to create an instance, we would have to write plugin command, right? So this would create an instance. So this is the first step, is defining the plugin as a class. Second is to create an instance. The third thing is to attach a pointer to this instance. And to attach a pointer, we used Is Mpx ptr function, because there is no as such pointer in Python. Alright, so we have the instance, we have the pointer which we can grab. Now we would have to initialize our plugin. So to initialize the plugin, we execute initialize plugin function, but what we exactly define in it, whenever Maya has to register a plugin, it prepares a handle. So this is the Maya core, and it's going to prepare a handle in the form of object, and this handle is going to grab this pointer. So when we call the register command, we know that Maya has already prepared a handle, and then we want to bring that handle in, and we brought that handle in by parameter object, right? And then we would have to define what or which pointer do we want to grab, and we have defined command creator because we know that this is the function that returns this pointer. Now after executing this, object handle has grabbed this pointer. So that pointer is in hands of that handle. So this is the fourth step, and now this instance would be inside the Maya core. So that's how we initialized it, and if it doesn't initialize it, throw us an error. And then it's very important to let Maya know that, oh, there is an uninitialization plugin function is. So to uninitialize, we already know that this instance exists here. So we don't need this pointer because it's not an outer space, it's just in Maya core. So to uninitialize it, Maya prepares a handle, and using this handle, this plugin is removed from Maya core. So this is the fifth step. So now we understand all the different commands we used and why we use them and what is the complete process of writing a command plugin. In the next chapter, we would make this plugin a little bit more useful. We just don't want to do it with all this effort. We want to do something complex, a little bit useful. So in next chapter, we would see how we can make this plugin useful.